Hi, I'm Sonia. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you could be here with me today. Today I'm participating in open collaboration with my friend Jerri-Ellen from Cooking with the Neighbors, Jerri-Ellen, and my two cousins cooking. And if you don't know, it's October and on YouTube, it's Crocktober. I know you think that I'm in love with my air fryer, and I am, but more than the love of my air fryer, I love my crock pots. And today I'm going to be showing you how you can take one piece of meat, pork roast, cook it in your crock pot, and then we're going to turn it into multiple nights of dinners, and it is going to be so delicious. So let's get started. And if you're new here, hello, welcome. I know a lot of you have joined in the last weeks, one from just one of my videos that one person shared. So thank you to my husband's cousin who happened to share one of my videos. It just picked up on YouTube. Thank you so much. And welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Come on, hit the subscribe button. And make sure you guys give this a thumbs up before you leave. Okay, let's get going. Okay, today I'm gonna be in the corner here while I'm doing my voiceover because I thought it would just be a little bit different, a little more fun that way. I normally, you can see this here, I'm going to show you, I have, let's see, I'll show you two screens going, and I normally use, people always ask me, what do you use for voiceover? I use a Blue Snowball. These sound amazing, amazing. Okay, so we are now going to get started with just a big pork roast, and I'm putting it into my crock pot, and I put a liner just because I don't like cleaning it up, and I'm putting about 2 big heaping tablespoons of chicken bouillon, but you could also use bouillon cubes. And now I'm going to be adding in 2 cups of water. You can tell how big this roast is. I should have paid attention to how many pounds it was. Just think big roast. About 2 cups of water. It really doesn't matter. You need enough for your family to eat for at least 2 nights. Even though I only made 2 meals with this was probably enough for a family of 4 to eat probably at least 3 to 4 nights, depending on how much you eat and how big of eaters you have. So I put it on low for 6 hours. After that, I was like, it's still not like tender enough. It wasn't. So then I put it on high and I put it down to, I believe, 4 hours, but I didn't go the whole 4 hours. I went about 3 hours. I'm gonna show you right here what it looks like. When you take off the top, it's gonna be just falling apart, and that's what we are looking for. I did do a video using the same kind of pork meat for carnitas, and I will put an eye right here that I did last year, and those are also really good to do with pork. There are so many things you can do with pulled pork. You could do like pulled barbecue sandwiches with the same base. Now I am making Cuban sandwiches, and I want to tell you that these are kind of like mock Cubans. If it was a real Cuban, I would have only been making Cubans, I would have put in very different spices into this. I didn't add a lot because we're using them for totally different recipes. But if you were making a real Cuban, you would have marinated this, and you also would have been using a different ham. And I wouldn't want to insult anybody that's actually Cuban and be like, those are not real Cuban sandwiches. They're not. I'm not making that. We're using it to make multiple nights for someone like me that would like to, something that's easy. So normally you would use Swiss cheese on a Cuban. I'm not a huge Swiss cheese lover, so I asked my husband if I could maybe switch out for something else, and he's like, well, you love smoked Gouda, why don't you try that instead? So you could use whatever one of these cheeses maybe you want. You're also gonna need some yellow mustard, just like the French's, like the normal kind, some kosher dill. I got the stackers because they're easier to put across. If I lived in Florida or something like that and I could get Cuban bread, that would be ideal, but I do not. So I went and I found some bolillos, which is like a Mexican bread. I know, not interchangeable, but it's the best that I could find to make this. I'm gonna be cooking on my Blackstone, but you could easily cook this right inside on your stove. I'm also using ham. Again, we're trying to make this easy for someone that's throwing this together. I look for no nitrates in all my meat that comes into my house. It's better for our hearts. Nitrate is not good for your house. So you're gonna get your Blackstone really hot. You can see it sizzling right here. And if you didn't have a Blackstone, again, you could do this inside on a pan, except we're trying to go fast. Every night at dinner, I feel like it sneaks up on us. My kids, especially Elena, gets home from school. I'm helping with homework. Before you know it, it's dinner time. So that's why my husband, sometimes he steps in and helps out. I have the plan, but he's the man with the execution. Isn't that how it always is? So you have to get it super hot, and you want to do this so that it gets like a golden crispiness to the outside of the pork. Now, if you don't like that, you could just take the pork from your crock pot and shove it into our, I'll call them mock Cuban sandwiches. Again, I don't want to insult any kind of Cuban person that's like, those aren't real. I know I look at other people's like arroz con pollo or Mexican rice, I'm like, no, that ain't right. So I wouldn't want to, you know, insult anybody. So now that we have it all crisped up, we are going to get started on our sandwiches. My husband went ahead and just put a little bit of butter on them. Now, if we were making real Cubans, they actually usually use the fat from the pork, or they use it from the ham. That usually they use really good ham that's marinated and everything else. My cute husband. Thank you, John. We're always helping. And so he's putting butter on both sides. If you don't know, both of my husband and my son are both named John. I don't know if you guys knew that. So we were just putting them on our grill, and we're just kind of getting them nice and toasty and golden brown, and everybody is there hanging out with us in the backyard, of course, because my husband's cooking. They're hoping something's gonna fall off. And then you just want to get them till they are golden brown and just a little toasty. And we do that so when you start adding in your mustard and everything else, it doesn't get like soggy. Plus it tastes so good this way. This is not like the most calorie conscious thing you've ever eaten. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our pork onto our bread, and then we're gonna start with all the layers. The next thing he's going to go ahead and put down is our ham. And just so you know, I am like pre-taping a lot of big collabs coming up. I'm already starting on my Thanksgiving one this weekend, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of the fun collaborations coming up. I know a lot of you came in and joined from my enchilada video, which was lower carb, high protein, and I'm actually working on 2 new videos that are both lower carb, high protein, and delicious, and one's a dessert. So now we're going to add on our mustard onto our sandwiches, and he's gonna flip them over and go ahead on the other side and put in our dill pickles, and traditional is dill pickles. Again, you could add or omit anything to this. I'm trying to stick to what normally goes on a real Cuban, which would also, this is wrong, this should be the Swiss cheese. I guess just nobody in our house wanted it that night. So we go in ahead and put in our Gouda, then we're putting in the tops to our sandwiches, and then we were just gonna put a little bit more butter down. Again, this is not calorie conscious, but it is delicious. So we're gonna put it under a box zone. Again, you need to get it nice and hot. Now, if you had a panini press, this would be ideal time to use it to make a Cuban. We don't have one, okay? So what we've done in the past for just different, actually just regular paninis that we've cooked on black zone or inside, you could do this inside on just a regular pan, as we've actually wrapped a brick in foil and placed it inside in our pan. I know this sounds crazy. So on this one, because we had so many, my husband had the idea of just actually taking our cutting board and just using our brick that's really heavy, wrapped in foil, and threw it on on all 4 of them. Then you're just gonna wait, because you wanna get it like crispy on the outside. That's traditionally how a Cuban would taste. Just kind of like a panini, which you could use the same method if you're making a panini on your black zone, which is also really fun to do. Of course, we've done it this summer. I always forget to tape everything, but so yeah, so you wanna make sure that they're crispy on both sides, and my husband is going to just, he was checking them to make sure that they were crispy enough on both sides. We took them inside and ate them, and they are so delicious. You guys really need to give this a try. There's just so many things that you guys can make with these pulled pork. You can make, like I said, a pulled pork sandwich. You can take the pork and take your nacho chips out and throw pork on top of them. There they are all together, and cuts, you can see what they look like on the inside. It was so good. I was gonna say, you could also make nachos, a barbecue sandwich. You could make a pork quesadilla. Like, if you think of big pieces of meat, I think that sometimes during the school year we need something that's fast, as if we cook something bigger, then we can turn it into multiple meals, but not necessarily eating the same thing as leftovers, because who wants to eat the same thing night after night? That's, ugh, not me. I need something different. I'm not into that, and my daughter definitely would not eat leftovers. I think my son and husband would, but not us. Not us girls in the house, we're the picky eaters. So here's the same idea, is you got to get your pan scorching hot, and you also don't want to put too much pork in each one. That's my husband had both of our pans going. They are just scorching hot, and we are going to crisp it up on both sides. Again, on these, you could do it either one. Now, here's what it is. Me and my sister I had to call her on the phone to ask her this. Do you think that these are chalupas or tostadas? We grew up in Texas in a Mexican household, and we thought that these were always called chalupas. We have now Googled the other night. I should have like put her on Zoom and recorded this. We had to like good on Google and everything. We have been taught incorrectly our entire life, and I know how it started. It started by a Mexican place. See how crispy it is? It's gotta be hot. Called Taco Cabana in San Antonio, who calls these chalupas on their menu. And if you haven't been to a Taco Cabana, well, you're missing out on life, okay? It's one of the best fast food restaurants that has Mexican food. It's a drive-through Mexican restaurant. I know not everywhere in the country has that, but in Texas we do. And they call them chalupas there, but we were talking about it and we are incorrect. They are actually called tostadas. Okay, so call them chalupa tostada. That's why, because in my mind, they will always be a chalupa, even though I have apparently been wrong all these years. Me and my sister were like, I wouldn't even have known, except one of my husband's chefs was like, no, that is a tostada, not a chalupa, because he's had a chalupa and he's like, those are different. So this is what it should look like. It should look like all nice and golden brown. I got my camera too close and got a little bit steamy. So here's what I bought is I just bought the chalupa tostada shells. We also are going to put a little pico on some and a little jalapeno sauce. And then I'm also using the Mexican style cheese. I get mine at Costco. You can use whatever you want. And they also now have the white one at Costco, which I only used on just quesadillas at home. But I thought, well, we'll make a few with it, see how it tastes on that. And here's my refried beans. I say refried because I don't use oil or lard. I need to show you guys how to make it in one video because they're mine. I make huge batches of them and then freeze them. And I don't think I've had a video just dedicated to that. So if you didn't have it, I mean, just try to make some yourself. Look it up. I hate canned beans. They're disgusting. I don't know how people can palate it. I know some of you like it. I think you haven't tried real beans. Just make some pinto beans. Take your immersion blender, throw it into your thing, put a little salt and pepper, put a little bit of chicken base, or put a little bit, just make it taste better. I don't know how you guys can eat the canned stuff. It's like mind-boggling to me. But I grew up in a Mexican household where there was always fresh beans and rice, so maybe that's why in Texas you can drive anywhere and just drive through any drive-through probably and get some beans and rice. So to me it's like, oh, who would eat canned beans? But to each their own. My daughter actually thinks that black beans should be on chalupas, tostadas. And her tostada just has black beans and cheese on it. She won't eat meat on hers because God forbid she do that. So I guess everybody has their own opinion about what should be on them. So we are putting the refried beans, and I call them refried because they don't add lard and I don't add oil to mine. Then we're adding in, but I need to make it one day for you guys. We're adding in the pork on top of it. And you could just use whole pinto beans if you wanted to. That would also work. I think it would taste better than the canned beans, which again, oh, no. Or go to your favorite restaurant, drive through to get that too. And go ahead and put the pork on top of it. So then we're gonna just throw down our cheese on top. I put my oven, I think I put it on 375. I think my husband 350, and I was like, no, I am right. I put it on 375. And I would say you just bake them until they're melted. That noise right now is my dog growling at me. He's kind of making a, he's hungry. So then we just throw them into the oven for just a couple minutes. I would say about 5 or 6 minutes until they just get melted. You could actually put them in the broiler, whatever you wanted. Then when we take them out is when I'm gonna go ahead and add in the jalapenos and the pico on top. Now there's some people that like to put their jalapenos or your pico underneath the cheese, so it's like baked into it. But I like it on top, and especially the pico. I don't want it underneath. And my favorite is the Mexican cheese with the jalapenos on top. That's my favorite. Everybody, you know, you can make your tostada however you wanted. But I thought this was a fun idea of another way to use your meat. Again, you could also make pork carnitas. Watch my video. I'll show you how from last year's one that I made it in a crock pot. So here they are, all done, all together. They were delicious. Hope you guys give us a try. Make sure you're subscribed. I have a lot of fun videos coming up, and I will see you guys next week.